How to write a successful cover letter. Most of the aspiring authors that I work with find their first publishing contract through unsolicited submissions. So what that means is you don't have an agent, you don't have a golden ticket, and you're simply submitting, like everybody else, through the slush pile or via email or written submission to a publisher who's put an open call out for manuscripts. So whether you're drafting your first ever query letter or have written a whole bunch of cover letters before, you need to remember that it is daunting, but it's not impossible. So with my contracts that I've received, out of the 15 contracts, there was 9 of them that I got simply through the slush pile and writing a successful cover letter. So it is possible. The biggest tip to remember is each manuscript is different, so each submission needs to be a little bit different. You shouldn't be doing a general sweep across the board to absolutely every single publisher who is open for submissions. You need to put a little bit of time and thought into it, and you need to do some research on who you are sending your book baby to. This is important for 2 reasons. The first reason is that it limits the amount of rejection that you get. And the second reason is that it shows that you are a professional and you're not just sending in a book because you want it to get published. You have got purpose and professionalism behind what you do. You need to get personal. So even though you're querying the same manuscript to multiple people, you still need to take the time to, first of all, change the name. I don't know how many times people have told me that they have sent the manuscript and the cover letter to somebody who they've sent it to previously, and they know that it's just that cringe-worthy feeling that you've got the wrong name. So that would be the top tip. You need to put the reason why you're contacting them specifically instead of another publisher or agent. Again, that's why it's really important that you get the name right when you're sending in your cover letters. But you need to do a little bit of research into why in particular are you sending it to that particular publisher or agent, and let them know that. Show them that you've actually taken the time to research what they're after and you value their time, and that in turn they will value yours and hopefully give you a little bit more feedback than they would somebody who sent a blank cover letter, just a standard cover letter to multiple publishers without taking their time to put a little bit of personalization into it. Best thing ever is if you've actually met them before, even if it's briefly, mention it. Even if they won't remember you, you have been in the same place at the same time, and that really does work wonders. So a submission should contain 3 important parts: the cook, the hook, and the book. The cook is when you give them a little bit more information about yourself. So you should have a professional bio anyway. Most aspiring authors think that they don't need a bio until they're published, but this is totally wrong. You should have a 50-word, a 100-word, and a 200-word bio, and have it stored somewhere on your computer so that when somebody asks for it, you just shoot it straight off. So it's the 50 to 100-word bio that you use here when you are using it in a submission letter or a pitch. And you need to keep it writing relevant. You don't need to put down how many children or pets that you have. You just need to keep it quite relevant in relation to what have you done in your life that's brought you to this point where you are now submitting to this particular publisher or agent. Publications can go here, even if they are publications in a magazine or an anthology. That's totally acceptable. Writing organizations are a great thing to list. All of you can list aspiring authors and share your story as your writers group. So go ahead, name drop. That's what it's all about. And also let them know what your goals are as a writer. They don't want to invest in you if you're going to be a one-hit wonder. They're really going to want to look at people who have got long-term goals in the industry. The hook is about the particular life skills that make you qualified to write this story, and it really comes back to your why. And we're going to be talking a lot about why, because it really has to be at the heart of everything that you do. So you need to show the publisher what makes you unique and why you are the perfect person to write this unique book. Really think about what your point of difference is in the marketplace and make them want to read more and find out more about you and the story. So you don't tell them everything, just enough to get them interested. The book is about telling them the title, the word count, and the genre. Let them know why you've chosen to speak out about this particular topic. If it is non-fiction, even if it's fiction, tell them about what it was that drew you to this particular theme or message. And again, just reiterate why you think that that particular theme or message or topic is relevant to be sent to them. You don't want to give them too much information on the book. This is not a section to be writing a synopsis. This is simply your tagline, and we will be doing more on taglines at a later date. But try not to spend so much time telling them about your story that they might decide they've heard enough. You need to keep them interested. You need to keep them wanting to read more so that they won't make a final decision based solely on your cover letter. Signing off is very important. It's a great place to mention comparable books if they've asked for it, but if they haven't asked for it, you don't need to include it. That's why it's really important to go back and look at the submission guidelines. Be sure to tell them what you are sending so they are clear. This is also really good for email submissions, because if you write in your cover letter in the body of the email that you've attached your manuscript and you send it and you haven't attached it, in most cases your email provider will come up with a pop-up saying, wait, you said you've attached something and you haven't, and that can be a huge lifesaver. So be really clear about what you're sending, and again refer to the submission guidelines whether they want them as an attachment or included actually in the email. Let your personality shine through in your sign off, but be professional. So formal but not boring. Give them a little bit of an insight into who you are and what it would be like to work with you. And let them know in every known universe how to contact you, whether it's email that you prefer, phone, postal address, carrier pigeon, whatever you want. I would include all of them and give them the option of how they can contact you. The amount of times that I have spoken to agents and publishers who have received cover letters with no contact details, you would be just so surprised. So make sure you're including all of your contact details there. Top tips. Be sure that your pitch does not make promises that your manuscript doesn't deliver. Another thing as well is, if you are pitching to a publisher who has asked for the first 3 chapters, make sure you've got more than 3 chapters, because when they come back to you, you probably got maybe a week turnaround before they're going to want the rest of the manuscript. So don't dive in too early. Make sure that your manuscript is publisher and agent ready before you start submitting through the slush pile. Remember, you're not trying to sell anything. It's a resume. It's offering them your services. So think of it more as a job interview than trying to sell them something. Show the reader what you've got and let them decide on its merits. Don't tell them that your best friends, cousins, sisters, neighbours, dog loved the book, because they will make up their own mind once they read it. The purpose of a cover letter is to actually get them to read your manuscript. And there's so many times I know where agents and publishers have made decisions based purely on a cover letter and never even read the manuscript. So that's why it's so important. Keep your query letter to under 1 page. Most agents and publishers are going paperless, but in the event that you do make it to an acquisitions meeting, everything will be printed out and taken with them. So you don't want to have reams and reams of paper. You want your query letter to be able to print out on a 1 A4 size sheet and for it to be neat and legible and easily read. proofread your query, read it out loud to make sure that you haven't left out any words, that your spelling's correct, that you've got full stops, capital letters, exactly the same as if you were editing your manuscript. You don't want to look unprofessional in your cover letter and have them think, well, if they can't spell in the cover letter, then they might not even be able to spell in the manuscript. So really take the time to proofread your query letter. The next part of my top tips is sometimes the hardest. You need to detach your success from the outcome of each submission and don't check your emails or your mail every day. You need to realize that this is going to take time, and on the submission site, it will give you an idea of how long it takes, usually 3 to 4 months. You need to simply go 3 or 4 months in your diary and write down that this is the time that you should have heard something back from that publisher. And if you haven't, then you need to cross that off your list. There's no point emailing them or ringing them or begging them. It doesn't work. So what you need to do is really be proactive around submitting perhaps to more than one publisher at a time, so it doesn't take 10 years like it did for me to get my first book published. But don't sweat it. It'll happen. It's really a matter of luck and timing and talent all mixed into one, and the biggest ingredient is persistence. If you feel like you're taking more time writing your cover letter than you think you should, that's okay. It means that you're really being very good at articulating what you do, and the better that you get writing cover letters and query letters when you come to face-to-face appointments with publishers and agents, the better you will be, because it's pretty much the same process. You've got about the same time that it takes to read a query letter when you are speaking to these people. So invest in it, absolutely. Let it go. I'm not going to sing for you here, but you really need to let it go. You need to send it out into the universe and trust that your manuscript will find a home. It might just take some time. Don't give up. Getting published is tough, and the industry is getting tougher, but you need to learn how to be resilient, and you need to learn how to take criticism, and you need to learn that sometimes your manuscript isn't going to be the right one at that right time, but it doesn't mean it'll never get published. You need to realize that sometimes if you're getting consistent knockbacks or no feedback at all, that perhaps you need to look at your cover letter and retweak it a bit, or you need to look at the manuscript itself and make sure that it is what the publishers you're sending it to are looking for. Don't forget, you can always contact me at any time. Here are all my contact details, and I am more than happy to have a look at the cover letter for you. If you email it through to me, I'll give it a quick proofread, and if you're on the right track, more than happy to do that for my aspiring authors. So you can email it through to me at mworthington.author@gmail.com, and I'll give it a quick once over and send you a quick email back just with some tips or maybe just the go ahead to start sending it off into the slush pile. And who knows, maybe you will be one of the lucky ones who will get your manuscript published because you've written an awesome cover letter.